Thank you all very much for coming. I'm Sebastian Courier, the artist in residence here at the Institute. Very happy to have you all here, and I'm very pleased to have Michele Beck here tonight to talk to us. She works in an area sort of that typically combines performance and video, which I think is a constant theme in the pieces she's going to show us. Her work has been exhibited both nationally and internationally, places such as the ICA in London, the Sound Art Museum in Rome, the Kassel Film Festival, documentary film festival, as well as in the States in the Bronx Museums, Queen Museums, PS 122. She had a show last year, a solo show at the Issei Gallery in Soho, and which I think she's going to show us a little excerpt from. And she currently teaches at the New School and lives in New York. And I'm very pleased to have Michele Beck here. Please give her a hand.
Could you all hear me okay? Yeah, that's working. Okay, so thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for coming and filling up the audience and making me feel so comfortable. I feel really honored to be here in front of such a distinguished audience. What I want to do is just take a couple moments before I show this film I've been working on to talk a little bit about my background and how I got to this place of what you're going to see now. I actually started as a sculptor, and I did large figurative objects. Throughout my work, basically the main theme has been about the body, and the body as a vehicle for expression of internal states. So whether they're emotional or psychological or existential, trying to use the body as a way to talk about something coming out of the interior of the body. So when I made sculpture, I did life size or larger than life size, and they were not like realistic sculptures, but sort of forms that represented human bodies. They're sort of primordial looking, and they sort of just represented human beings. So you know it was a human being. It wasn't gendered. You didn't know if it was male or female. It wasn't a social body. It was an internal body. And that just relates to the rest of my work. When I went to graduate school, I was still making sculpture, but they had a video camera there. And once I got a hold of a video camera, everything changed for me. And what I realized is rather than making sculpture, rather than making figures, I could become the figure. What the video camera gave me was the possibility of movement and sound. And movement is really important to me, and it's a way that I can express. So the camera allowed me to express in a way that sculpture kind of contained me. Although I still love making things, and I love making sculpture, it's just another process I love. But since graduate school, I've been doing video, and I always perform in my videos. So it's kind of a performance-based video art that I make. Most of my videos would be, what I do is perform for the camera, and there'd be some kind of action, and then I would edit that. I would take that footage, edit together, and then edit sound to it. And these are not narrative stories. They're more like poetic states of being that I'd be expressing through the videos. And they started as single channel videos. And then I started to do installations with them and also doing live performance. So I'd take something that was a video, like I had a video, I was collaborating with someone at a certain point, and we did a video where we wrapped our bodies in packing tape with the sticky side facing out. And we would, which totally, like our whole heads, our whole entire bodies, which completely transforms your body. And then we would, in the video, we sort of come close to each other, so testing the space of closeness. And eventually we would hug, and we get completely stuck together. And the whole video was about the struggle to disconnect from each other. So it was about that space that we always live in of what's our identity, what's to be close, what's to be separate, wanting to be close and wanting to be separate at the same time. After doing it as a video, we then did it as a live performance, which was really interesting. And then after doing some of these performances, they're very physically and emotionally challenging. They're really hard to do, and I guess I reached a point where I didn't want to deal with that emotional. I had enough of that emotional space, and I wanted to sort of move into something else. So I started doing installations. And so what I wanted to show you is I'm going to show you two short clips of two different works, just so you could see a little bit where I'm coming from, and then I'll talk about the pole dancing video. The first thing I want to show you is part of one of the things I do is I do love dance. I'm not a dancer. I'm not trying to be a dancer, but I love expressing myself through movement. So for a while I was studying Butoh. Butoh is a Japanese, it comes out of Japan. After World War II it was developed. And basically Butoh is about, they call it the dance of darkness. And it's really coming directly out of World War II, out of all the destruction and the trauma of World War II. But it's not completely all darkness. It's also about with every darkness, there's also light. So it's taking all this heaviness, all this darkness, but it's also finding light in it. And what Butoh does is there's no choreography to Butoh. It's an expressive dance. So it's about it's really just using the dance to express. But if you saw Butoh, you'd know it was Butoh, but there's no specific choreography to it, which is always really important to me. So what happened was I went to Italy and I did a month-long workshop in Butoh with this master from Japan that was really amazing. And as I was in this workshop, at some point, I'm not a dancer, so I was kind of half there and really curious, but I was also had my other part of me, which is my visual art part of me, and I was watching the dancers, and so I decided to make a video where I interacted with the Butoh dancers. So I'll show you what I did. What this is ideally should be an installation. There's 6 different videos, and they should all be playing at the same time, and it's all synchronized, because the video is about how I edited. It's about the editing of the video and the sound. So it becomes almost like a symphony of all these different pieces that are playing at the same time. So I'm just going to show a short clip of it, and you can see, you'll see a little bit of what I was doing and how I was manipulating through the video. Okay. Oh, so the one thing I didn't say, which is obvious, well, that's me, and I'm actually moving the people in and out of the space. So the only direction I gave them was that I'm going to move them, put them in the frame, and then they take a pose or take a shape, and then I take them out. So I was like moving people around, and that was actually directly related to a sculpture project I had done where I made all these little figures and it was all about me moving them around. So this was like turning it then into a video with these people. I also wanted to show that one because the project I'm working on now is this film about this pole dancing studio where I'm actually a participant. And I thought that this was interesting because also I was one of the people who was in this workshop, and then I found this way to interact with it as an artist. And it's the same thing with the pole dancing film at the end, that I'm actually a participant and I'm a student at this school, but then I also took myself out of it, and then I'm looking at it through the eyes of an artist. The other short clip I want to show you is the most recent thing I did, which is an installation. This was at the Issei Gallery in New York City. It was in a like 1,200 square foot space, and there were 4 videos, and the ground is covered in gravel. And these are all videos that I shot when I did an artist residency in Cappadocia, Turkey. And these are all videos I shot there. What I wanted to one of the reasons I wanted to show you this is what you see in the videos. There's a figure you see in the videos, and those are all me. And I'm wearing one of my costumes. One of the things I do in my work a lot is I make costumes that cover my whole body. So you'll see some of those costumes in here. This is a 4-channel piece with surround sound audio. So that piece is on a like a 12-minute cycle that started with white. Then it goes into, you see the windows and the figures in the window and the figure in the arch. And then everything is taken over by water. The sound gets louder, and then everything goes back to white. So it's just a cycle. Some of those, this is, partly I want to show that because you'll see some of those images then in the pole dancing video also, because I think there's an interesting connection of how I like mix all these things together. So what's happening now is after I finished that installation, I was like not sure what to do next, and I didn't really want to do another big installation like that. I wanted to do something different, and I had been taking classes at this pole dancing studio in New York City for about 3.5 years. I do love to dance, and I do love movement, and I wasn't really thinking that I was looking to pole dance. It wasn't something that was on my mind to do. But I was in a workshop with this woman teaching a workshop said to me, oh, you should really try pole dancing. And honestly, my immediate reaction was there's no way I would ever, like that sounds really tacky and I wouldn't do that. And what happened was, I don't know, she talked to me about why she did it and what she was getting out of it. And I don't know, there was some part of me that was just kind of curious. So I thought, I'd take an intro class. And I was, like, it was the most amazing thing in the intro class. It's a regular class, but at the end, the teachers dance. And when I saw them dance, it had this incredible, I couldn't stop crying. There was something about it that was so powerful in this movement. And I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I'm in. And I signed up. And so that was like 3.5 years ago, and as I was like laying in bed when I tried to figure out what to do next, I thought, well, you know, this pole dancing studio, there's something really interesting happening there, and in the 3.5 years that I've been there, it's actually been an interesting kind of conflictual experience for me, because on one hand, I know that I love it, and there's something really powerful I'm getting from it, but I also, there's been a lot of things that I've questioned, and I've been questioning, like, I don't feel the same way now, but I know that through the process that I've thought, you know, I don't know about this dancing, I don't know if, like, that's really what I want to be doing, I don't, you know, because we all dress up in, like, really, well, you'll see, dress up in clothes, and I didn't know how I felt about that, and so I had a lot of mixed feelings, and I thought that there's something, I think going through, like, I think it works really well for the film, and the women at the studio are really amazing, so for me to watch the process of what the women were going through, I thought was really profound and interesting, and I thought, well, here's a great story, so I decided to make this film. So I'm just going to show a short excerpt from it. It's still a little bit in process, so it's not completely polished, but I just chose a part where you can get a really good idea of what's going on there.
Looking, and I just look like I need to be medicated, but it feels so right for some reason.
I have this bathing suit thing that's like stars and stripes, and it's like these ribbons, and it's really like obnoxious. And when I'm dancing in it, I just feel like here I am, and like the louder I am, the better.
I never imagined that I'd find myself at a pole dancing studio wearing 6-inch stiletto heels, skimpy lingerie, and dancing around for a group of women. Not exactly something that was on the top of my to-do list. But about 3.5 years ago, a friend of mine who knows I love dance and expressing myself through movement suggested that I take a pole dancing class. And I was completely shocked when she suggested that. I thought, what, are you serious? Why would I try something like that? And then she explained her experiences at the pole dancing studio, and I became really curious. So I signed up for a class.
The masses, the Facebook status would read, here I am, she's an oldie elite asses. Time to go too dynamic from the static, while the women walk miles to get water, and then leading on the sheep to the slaughter. Mother Earth is getting hotter, we forgot her, and now she's pissed and ignited.
to move to your song, you're like, I'm not feeling it. It's not working today. Okay. You can shut it down and find something else. Whether it's something else you want, or if you want me to just go based on what I'm reading from your body. Yeah, like that. Sound good?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just high right now. It works for me.
I need to dance for myself, and shutting everybody else out allows me to get into my body. And once I've connected, then I can take it off, and then I can connect and play, because I like to play. Now, if I started off that way, I'd be really distracted, and I wouldn't get what I need from the dance.
That was Nina dancing, and I love teaching. I always enjoy taking I Love's classes and seeing her move the chairs around and create an environment where her students can play and also push their boundaries. The women in this class have been dancing together for many years and have developed a strong sense of trust, which is what allows them to dress the way they do and dance with each other in such a suggestive and intimate way. This is something that develops over time. I know for myself that when I first started taking classes, I would show up in my gym clothes. And even though the room is kept very dark and there are no mirrors, I still felt very self-conscious and hesitant to move my body around in this way. But as time has passed, I have changed, and now I freely enjoy all the parts of the classes, including the warm-up and the moving meditation that follows. During the moving meditation, there is no instruction, except to listen to the music and go wherever your body takes you. After the moving meditation ends, the teacher will then demonstrate some pole tricks, and the students will have time to practice. It's interesting to know that even though this is a pole studio, there are women like myself who have been taking classes for a number of years and still aren't actually particularly good at the pole. This isn't the fault of the teachers or the school. It's just a result of the fact that women get to choose where they want to put their emphasis. And the grand finale of the class that everyone is always looking forward to is when each woman gets to choose her own song and dance for the group. There is no choreography or expectations of what should happen. Rather, for the 3 or 4 minutes that the song lasts, the room belongs to the woman dancing, and she can do whatever she wants, even if what she wants to do is absolutely nothing. The rest of the class is there to support her and cheer her on.
Giving her or taking away something from her or whatever seems to stir something, like she comes back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's when she really is alive.
Getting comfortable with this dance and what it means to me has been a process, or a journey as they like to call it at the studio. I remember my beginning classes and the teacher introducing a concept to us that she called the erotic creature. Basically, the erotic creature is a personification of our sensual selves and creates a structure through which to begin the journey.
No one's ever really ready for the erotic creature because you don't know what this journey is going to be. You think it's hokey. You mean erotic creature? It's keeping a little bold.
It's feeling comfortable in that sex. That ain't sexy. It's sort of just sensual.
Your creature is that emotion that lives inside you. The erotic creature is your opportunity to let that core emotion live at its full heightened volume almost. It's like turned up and unapologetic.
It's not about shimmy and I'm done. You know, I do this trick on the pole, down, done, split, bam. You know, it's more about finding out this sensual and sexual side that you've been disconnected from.
For me, it's the subconscious part of me that
I don't think I ever thought I was allowed to have. You know, it's the part of me that I silenced probably when I was a little kid.
And sometimes it's aggressive, you know, you're stomping and and sometimes it's just soft and sometimes it's just retreating into yourself.
I think when a woman first starts their journey, it might be easier to surrender to whatever comes up when you can separate it and you say, okay, this is I love every day. This is I love at the grocery store. This is I love in the office. This is I love walking her dogs. This is I love's erotic creature. This is my sensual personality. And, maybe my grandmother doesn't see this side of me.
I remember first hearing about the erotic creature and thinking that whatever this sensual part of myself was should be obvious to me. But in fact, going through the process and exploring what kinds of clothes and music affected me when I danced was quite surprising. And I think I'm not the only one who's had this experience. From what I've heard, many women find things they did not expect to find.
It was really the laces. The laces called to me. Something about binding and metal. And I was like, I need these shoes.
I think there was an assignment once with masks or something. And I put the mask on and I was another person. I was like, it's like the mask allowed me to forget who I was, or what I was, or whatever, and just let loose and just be this other person.
I feel so much more attractive when I'm walking around in a pair of heels. Like I can't help it.
I wear it around my neck. And sometimes when I'm dancing, like I'll play with this, I'll ride with that. At times I just like to feel it like a classic mat.
If you see me in your eyes, I will see me in yours.
After being at the studio for a while, I wanted to see what other ways I could play in this context. So I took out one of my costumes from my performance artwork to see what it would feel like to move around in it, and also to see how the women would respond to me. This was a great experiment for me, because it allowed me to find a connection between different parts of myself, and it was also great to see how the women in the room responded. More than anything, they were excited and curious and wanted to know more. And this made a lot of sense to me, because although the costume I was wearing was very different from what I would normally see in the classroom, I think that what happens to me when I'm wearing that costume is very similar to the transformation that happens to women all the time.
I think in the moments when I'm most in my body and I'm most able to turn my brain off and access this other sort of primal part of myself, it just feels for me like, certainly when the dance is over, I always feel this immense sense of relief. And in the moment, it just has this feeling of truth and your most true primal core self, whatever that looks like.
I have never danced for anyone. I've come close a few times. But I think what's been stopping me is that I do it for me and it's mine.
My guy has never seen my feet dance.
He has no idea, and while I've danced for him, it's been that pretty dance it doesn't even, it's sweet, and it's that, I love you, it's Valentine's Day, let me do this.
I've seen her dance once. Yeah, and it was fun because it just, again, even when you hear about the experience, you hear what happens in the room, you watch the person you're with grow, to see them actually close their eyes listen to music, move their body in a way that they haven't done so before, and realize that they have a confidence about that was it was different than sexual, and that's the preconceived notion you have about pole dancing. You realize that it was much more emotional. I think for both of us.
Peeling off the layers of inhibition, there are always layers. It's like an onion, has many different layers. And as you get more comfortable in your body, then you move closer to your true, authentic self in the movement.
Like there was a woman who said, I bet you we know you better than some of your best friends. I'm like, yeah, it's probably true. Because you're most vulnerable, you're most raw, you're most like empowered version of yourself.
But yet, moving and dancing, you get so lost in it, but it's actually like catharsis. It's actually like you start to cry. And I've seen many women just get into this thing, and then they just cry because, like, I'm gonna cry because I cried laughing. But it's releases your